Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the third of the Sunoikisis digital ancient history and archaeology classes for the fall of 2016. This week we're talking, this is the first of three classes on geography and geographic science related topics, and we're joined by Valeria Vitale and hopefully by Usama, who will be talking geography largely geographic science related topics. And we're sorry about that, had a clash of two audio streams for a second there. Yeah, one warning, I'm speaking from a hotel lobby, so I may disappear at some point, in which case Valeria is in charge of this session, and so you should all do what she says. And hopefully everything will continue to work even if I'm not here. If I am still here, I will also give a short presentation in the middle of this session, but we'll see how that goes. So I'm going to hand over now straight away to Valeria, who will tell you what the rest of this session is mostly going to be about. Please go ahead, Valeria, and I will mute myself.
Okay, thank you, Gabby. Let me do the screen share. Okay. And there we are. Okay, so this is the first part of our geography session, and I will start talking about probably the most used gazetteer for the study of the ancient world. It is the Pleiades gazetteer, and in particular of how it handles the modeling of geographical information. And then hopefully Gabby will talk a little bit more about the use of linked open data for the study of the ancient world, and in particular of the project Pelagios and the two tools that they developed, Peripleo and Recogito. And then maybe we will be joined by Usama and his students in Egypt, and it will maybe help us. Otherwise, I will do it a demo of the use of Recogito in the annotation of medieval Islamic maps. So let's get started with Pleiades gazetteer. Okay, the Pleiades project started mainly as a digitization of the Barrington Atlas, and the Barrington Atlas itself, it's already it's a great achievement. It's a great piece of scholarly research. It's also a beautiful object. I mean, it's this big book with maps of the ancient world, basically the classical world. So you have this wonderful, very detailed atlas of kind of a disappeared world. So the idea of making the Barrington Atlas digital was, already quite straightforwardly a good idea, because, well, it could make the Barrington Atlas 3D accessible, which, I mean, the Barrington Atlas is great, but it's a rather expensive publication. And it can make it accessible anytime, anywhere. You only need an internet connection, which again is not the case for a traditional printed publication. But I believe that very quickly, Pleiades gazetteer became a project on its own that had a larger, more interesting, and more ambitious goal. And to see what are the other added values of Pleiades, I want you to have a look at what they themselves say about the project in the homepage. And in particular, to bring attention on the fact that Pleiades is a community-built gazetteer. And one of the wonderful things of digital projects is that they are open. They are never-ended, potentially. So everyone with an account can contribute to this project. And I believe this is incredibly engaging for the community. Also, the information in Pleiades is authoritative in the best way, which means that everything that gets published in Pleiades, it's vetted by an editorial board that is made by experts. So all the information that is in Pleiades, it's quality scholarly information. But being digital, Pleiades, it's also obviously much more searchable than a printed publication. So it's much easier to find and display results. But I want to put an extra stress on reusing, because what you can do with Pleiades is download all the information that has been contributed. And you can do whatever you like with it. You can use for your own research, you can build on top of it, you can search it, you can analyze it, you can use to build your own maps, because everything there is open license. And you can use this incredible wealth of geographical information to perform all sorts of digital computational research, all sorts of digital projects. But I think that if this wasn't enough, I think that there is an extra added value in Pleiades. That is that a digital platform, and in particular the model used by Pleiades, it's much more suitable, in my opinion, to represent the nature of geographical information when we talk about the ancient world. And this is because, well, talking about ancient places is not that easy, it's not that straightforward, for a lot of reasons, because the Earth has changed in the past millennia, because our idea of describing a place has changed during time. I mean, now we are used to a complete different idea of describing place, a complete different idea of precision in geographical information. But especially because, I mean, when we talk about ancient places, there is so much that we don't know about it. And the sources that we rely on are often incomplete, and well, they are not exactly as objective or scientific as we might want them to be. So sometimes, the line between historical and fictional, historical and mythical, historical and literary is very, very thin. It's very, very difficult to decide. So how do you model an information that is so fuzzy, that is so fluid? And I believe that in this context, having a digital platform is massively useful. And so let's see how Pleiades tackles this uncertainty, this complexity, but also this richness of information, because the fact that we have fragmentary information doesn't mean that this information is not relevant or is not useful. On the contrary, it's very precious, especially because we have so little information about it. And I think it's very useful that Pleiades gives us a way to display and use and analyze this information. So how does Pleiades represent ancient places? Well, their representation is mostly based on three concepts. And you'll see that in the page you will find more information than that. But these are the three main concepts around which we build a Pleiades page. And they are place, names, and locations. So place, it's a bit of an abstract concept. It's not strictly geographical. It's more the Platonic idea of a place is the knowledge that this place existed or were supposed to exist, either in an historical or in a literary fictional context. And then we have names that are how places were called, maybe by different people, maybe in different languages, maybe at different moments in time. And then we have location, that is, the geographical hardcore information, so coordinates, so where this place used to be. Maybe, according to different sources or at different levels of precisions. And what kind of entries we find in Pleiades? Well, mainly we find information about settlements and centers of human activity, which is probably what you expect. But we also find, larger entities like regions, for example, a Roman province. But also on another level, we find entries about geographical features like mountains, rivers, promontory, islands. And please note that sometimes we have islands and settlements that have the same name, but if you think about it, they are two different entities. So we have one entry for the island, and we have one entry for the settlement. But also we have, and these are, I'm very happy that these are becoming more and more popular, human-made features. We have specific entries for temples, for houses, for tombs, and so on. And we have some entries for peoples as well, because the name of populations were sometimes used to give geographical information. I mean, these were the places where those people live. But let's zoom in and have a look at what happens in a real Pleiades page. So by chance, we land, this is obviously a screenshot. I'm not using anything live in this presentation, so we will pretend to scroll going into the next slide. So we are in the page of modern Taranto, or Taras, and this is the page for the entity place that is called Taras. And we recognize that we are in a place because, I'm sorry, there is no, I cannot use any pointer, but you see that next to the title of the page, Taras Tarentum Neptunia, there is the icon of a little temple. That tells us that we are in a place. So what else is in this page? There is a map, of course, that tells us where Taras is, and the location information is identified by the icon of the compass. Then we have a list of names and at different times, and these are all the names that have been attested for Taras. We also have relationships, so the places of which the entities of which Taras was part, so Magna Grecia and the Appia. And in this case, there are no entries, but we could have the places that are within Taranto. So, for example, the Temple of Poseidon that is in Taranto could have a page on its own and be connected to Taras. But the real core of this page, really the heart of a Pleiades page, is this one. Is the URI that they assign to each place. And besides all the interesting geographical information that I'm very fond of, the main job of Pleiades is to give clean and stable URIs to places. And URIs, I mean, I'm sure you already know, are unique resource identifiers. They are codes that identify an entity, so that everyone that has a digital project and has data related to the same place, if they all use the same reference when they refer to that place, all that information can be linked together, and machine can read this code, and machine can recognize that different projects are talking about the same place reference. Just to give you a very quick example, Gabi will talk more about the open link data ecosystem. Just to give you an example, we have this picture that was on Flickr that have been harvested by an API because the picture had been tagged with the URI of Taras. And what else do we have here? We have mostly references because, again, Pleiades entries are scholarly entries, and you need to cite primary sources for them to be valid, to be accepted. And okay, this is a page for one of the names. So you had seen that in the list of names, they were all active links. So if you link on the page of one of the names, you know that you are in an entity name because now we have the icon of a tag next to the title. And please also note the path at the beginning of the page that tells you that you are in the page for Solus in the place of Soluntum. And you see that we have information about the name as it was attested in Greek, and the transcription, and always primary sources for it. So this is really the core information that you find in Pleiades. But so far we have seen examples of, let's say, the best case scenario, when we have all the three elements that we need. We have place, we have names, we have location. But what happens when we have maybe only two of them, or even only one? well, we still can create entries in Pleiades because these three entities are separated. So for example, we could have, only information about the place because we know that the place existed or was believed to exist, like for example, the island of Calypso that is mentioned in the Odyssey. But we don't know exactly what geographical feature was believed to be the island of Calypso, if any, or the place where a battle took place. We know that that place existed, but we don't really know where that is or what is its actual name. Or we could have the name only because we found it on an inscription, we found it on a coin, but seriously, we have no idea where that was or what exactly that was. Or we might have a generic name, like, for example, the city of Megara in Sicily. That was quite a common name. There were quite a few Megara in Sicily, so we might not be sure which one this attestation refers to. Or we could have location only. We know that something was there because we found it, because archaeologists found it, but we have no idea of all the other information. But still, we can model, we can publish this fragmentary information and preserve it and include it into our gazetteer. You've seen that many of the Pleiades entries have a lot of names, and I think this is one of really the richness of Pleiades and a very, very big added value compared to printed publications. Why do we have so many names? Well, we might want to include different languages. We might want to include variant spellings, all attested, of course, of the same place. Because they are useful for philological studies, because they're useful for historical reasons, but also I believe that the different names of a place, they really, really are part of the identity of the place and should be preserved. By the way, a few years ago, UNESCO declared that place names are part of cultural heritage, and I couldn't agree more. And of course, we want to include modern names to facilitate the search for these places. And also, well, we might have different names for historical, for philological reasons, or we might have different names just because archaeologists, do not talk much with each other, and they all renamed the same thing many times as they pleased. And if you think that didn't happen, I just want to show you very quickly. Okay, this is the list of the names that the same building in Pompeii, what is now known as the Temple of Apollo, received during the years. And it's, I think there are many frustrated poets among Italian archaeologists, but that's to make the point that, we might have a lot of different names for the same building. And of course, we can also have different locations because they might come from different sources, or we might have more refined geographical information that we acquire later, or we can refer to slightly different geohistorical entities, like, for example, we can associate an ancient settlement with the modern settlement, but also with the archaeological site of, near to the modern settlement. Another point that I want to make, I don't think I have much time, so that will probably be my last point about Pleiades, is how Pleiades tries to model uncertainty. Well, uncertainty, of course, is not new, it's not something that only digital scholars have to deal with. And already in the Barrington Atlas, there is a semantic convention that tries to deal a little bit with uncertainty, so the use of question mark or asterisk or things like that. And all these conventions have been inherited by Pleiades, so we found those in Pleiades. And another, very, very, really common sense way is just to be very careful when you phrase the information that you're publishing, in the sense that you are being, very clear in stating that it's maybe an hypothesis what you're talking about, so that a place is thought to be associated with another one that was, it's probably associated with a modern settlement. And being careful in stating very precisely the kind of information that you're publishing. You can also use the detail field, of course, to give more information, to disambiguate. And this is my my favorite approach, you can exploit the value of the relationship that you can create and you can build among the Pleiades pages. So, for example, if you want to preserve the information that an ancient settlement used to be associated with a place, with a modern settlement, but then scholarship evolved and there is now a new agreement, and now that ancient settlement is thought to be associated with another modern one. Or let's make the case that there is no agreement at all. So we have an ancient settlement that is associated by one scholar with a modern settlement and by another scholar with another modern settlement. So for example, the ancient city of Actium in Sicily is associated by one scholar with the place of Capomulini. I think the Barrington Atlas associates it with Capomulini, and by another scholar is associated with the town of Nizzeti. So how do we resolve this? Well, I think it's not the place, it's not our place to resolve this scholarly disagreement, even though we might have, our own ideas about it, but we can create pages for the modern settlements and state that these modern settlements were associated, they were both associated for different reasons at different moments in time by different scholars with the same ancient settlement. And I believe that it's very important to preserve this kind of information, to preserve scholarly disagreement, to preserve deprecated information, a whole class of information that wouldn't find probably its place in a traditional publication. How can you model this on a map? It would be very, very difficult. But on a digital gazetteer that really uses the power of links and connections and relationship, you can use this to model this fuzzy information. I was also going to show you, how to make an entry in Pleiades, but I believe that I should instead pass the stage to Gabby. I can only say that, yeah, well, if you all got excited about Pleiades right now, you can request an account. You'll find all the information on the website, and that Pleiades entries are all citable, are all transparent, and because it's also it has an editorial board, I think that Pleiades entries are by all means little micro publications. So I strongly encourage you to join the team and contribute. So I should stop the screen share now.
Great, thanks, Valeria. Give me a as I should have for a slot through this. I'm going to talk basically about points. I'll talk very quickly about linked open data. Valeria's already introduced you to this briefly. I'll talk a little bit about the Pelagios project, especially the Pelagios Commons, and then I'll talk about Recogito and Peripleo and some of the value of those tools that comes out of that. So quickly, a background of what is linked open data. Linked open data is basically, it's a way of creating and publishing digital data, and it's particularly useful for emphasizing relationships between sets of data, in particular between diverse sets of data, so that might be in different parts of the world, in different contexts, and come from different places. And linked open data works, in a nutshell, by using stable identifiers for the entities and for using ontologies, which also have stable identifiers for the properties of the relationships between those entities. Which means that anybody can make a linked open data statement about two entities and a property, or an entity, a property, and a descriptor, without necessarily having control of the data, because all the data is open and is out there, and these identifiers are able to be used by anybody. Just as a quick illustration of how the relational language of the linked open data and the linked open web work, I want to start with a comparison of the relational database model, where you can imagine a database of pots, in this case, where each pot has an identifier and has a type and has a color, and there's various other information in this table of pots. And if you wanted to make this slightly more powerful and slightly more efficient, you'd use a relational database where the pots, where you're going to have many, many pots of type Skyphos. So instead, you'll call the pot type 6, and then you'll have a second table which says type 6 is called Skyphos and has equivalent to them. Again, I mean, I'm very much an example of how in linked open data, you do very much the same. The pot has an identifier. In this this RDF triple we have here, this is one statement made out of 3 pieces of information. There's an identifier first for the pot, pot 17. There's an identifier for the relationship here, and there's an identifier for museum identifier, vocabulary item for that kind of pot. And these identifiers are given here, which are slightly more human readable. The part before the colon is a prefix, it's a shorthand, and the full URLs for those 3 persistent identifiers would expand to look something like this. The first one is just an example, doesn't really exist. There is no such database of pots. But if there were, this might be pot 17. With the relationship is a relationship which is created by the RDF vocabulary, and so it's part of the RDF syntax namespace. And the British Museum identifier for the pot type Skyphos would have this identifier as the third one in here. Now, the advantage of this over this model we had is that this doesn't have to be my pot database at the beginning. It doesn't have, I haven't invented this RDF syntax, and I have no control of the British Museum pot types. Okay, all things, I can still make this statement about those three identifiers. Those exist and are publicly available. Often described trying to express things in RDF as trying to have a conversation with a 4-year-old where every sentence just has 3 words. We do have to bear in mind that as scholars, we will make slightly more complex statements like that. We need to be able to make slightly more complex statements. So to use another example that isn't to do with gazetteers, just for a moment, here's a prosopographical example which I sometimes use when talking about the SNAP project. We might want to make a statement that a particular reference in a text can be disambiguated to a person as identified in a prosopography. So on line 1 of this inscription from Aphrodisias, Titon Casa Ausokrator, etc., refers to PIR F398, which is the Emperor Vespasian, and that's not quite enough, right? To make this an academic statement rather than just an observation, we have to be able to say that I claim that the person referred to in line 1 is PIR F398, and when I claim it and where I claim it. In a post that I wrote this morning, I made that claim and I published that claim. So to be able to do that, that's more than 3 pieces of information. We can't put all of those in one RDF triple, so instead we use something called an open annotation. And what we do is first we declare that this identifier on the left here is an annotation. We can then say more things about that annotation. We can say that that annotation has a target, which is the first line of that inscription. We can say that the annotation, which is a person in the Snapdragon prosopographical data set, we can say that that annotation was annotated by, and that's the URI me in the ORCID database, and we can say at what point that annotation was made. It was made at 6 a.m. this morning. That's unlikely, but you can also lie in RDF, just so you can lie in any form of communication. But so you see, we've used RDF, but we've used 5 triples rather than just 1 triple to make that same to make that statement slightly more academically coherent. So just to illustrate again what that set of triples, what that single annotation has done, is it's taken this inscription, it's taken this person reference, which is on the first line, in fact on the first 3 lines of this inscription. It's attached a label to it, saying that this is that identifier in the Snapdragon dataset. It's Snapdragon 6298, 6293. And so essentially what that's done, if you remember the vocabulary we used, it has a body and it has a target, is that the target is where we put this annotation, and the body is what we put in it. So what we've basically done is we've created a post-it note, and we've put the post-it note that is on the first line of the inscription, and the body of the post-it note is what I've written on the post-it note. This is the Emperor Vespection, so everyone knows what that means and who that is. That's a sort of quick background of what linked open data is and how we can use it to create annotations of various kinds. Pelagios Commons is it's the current stage of a project which has been running for several years, and the point of this project, Pelagios, is to create and to then exploit the use of exactly the kind that I've been describing, using as the authority for those annotations. So, the text might contain the word Alexandria. There are, I forget how many it is, 34 places called Alexandria in the ancient world, and the annotation allows you to distinguish Alexandria from the Pleiades gazetteer is being referred to in that case. And so that's sort of is what the Pelagios project is enabling and exploiting. The aim is, or the assumption is, that all of these kinds of that one can make, both of people, of places, of texts, of museum objects, of archaeological sites, and all sorts of kinds of things. Place is a very, very important part of the glue that will bind all of these things together and that will create networks between them. And once you've got these sorts of networks, these sorts of resources, you can query this and get all sorts of information out of it. And this really builds a massive infrastructure or ecosystem, as we sometimes call it, of objects, people, places, events, texts, and other kinds of entities and resources relating to the ancient world. Pelagios depends very heavily upon gazetteers, originally mostly on the Pleiades gazetteer, but increasingly on a wider range of gazetteers covering other periods of history in other parts of the world, as the source of disambiguation when place references are georeferenced and geo-resolved. And the core activity of Pelagios is the creation of these annotations, exactly of the kind that I was illustrating earlier with prosopographical information. The annotation has a target, which is the document of whatever kind, and it has a body, which is telling you what place identifier from the gazetteer, from Pleiades, that should be disambiguated to. And so this is, in effect, I just want to sort of go back to the concept of named entity recognition just quickly. This is in effect taking a text like this and annotating this text by pulling out place references and disambiguating them. So what does it mean to do named entity recognition on a text? Well, what it basically means is to take a piece of text like this and to identify in this text all place names in this text. So all the place names in this text have just been highlighted in here in red. You can also identify personal names, of course, and I've identified the personal names in this text in purple color. And there are also many place references, which are not place names in themselves, but they're references to places, either by referring back to a place already referenced or by referring to a place using some form of periphrasis. And there are person references that, again, don't name the person, but refer to them in some more or less ambiguous way. And this sort of NER can either be done by hand, or it can be done mechanically, or it can be done predictively in various ways. And the reasons for disambiguating places in text are, again, for the sorts of enrichment that this brings to the text, to the data sets, and the sorts of enablement around it. Another reason for doing named entity recognition by hand on a text is that this then gives us lots of information which can enable machine learning tools to learn how to do more of this sort of work across the vast amount. One of the coolest things about the Pelagios project right now is this tool called Recogito, which is currently in a beta mode. In fact, it's even in alpha mode, this is what Valeria and Usama. But this is a tool doing annotation of text, place references, to do without having to use any of the pointy brackets that you saw in my examples earlier, and without having to know what RDF is. Really, you take a map such as this or a text, and you can identify a name reference in your map or text, and by simply clicking on it or drawing, then use the interface to say, A, this is a place, and B, this is which place it is. This place in question, this little circular island in the middle of the Curiosities, is the island of Lampedusa. You wouldn't necessarily be able to tell that just by looking at it, but the text on it in Arabic does tell you that this is Lampedusa. This then increases vastly the amount of data that is available to Pelagios with references to Pleiades and other gazetteers. And building on that is another tool that, that the Pelagios team have created, which is Pelagios, which is effectively a search engine across the linked geographic data that they've created, which is visualized as a map and display your results as a map. There's not very many results on this particular page because I searched for a place that actually only occurs once, but you can see the sorts of ways in which you can filter the data. You can filter the data by date, you can filter by type of data, by source of data, and by language that the data is in. And here's an example of a search for tetradrachm that has already been filtered in various ways to give you the approximate scatter of tetradrachms in the Eastern Mediterranean there across a certain date result. And if you have these slides and you click on that link at the bottom, this will take you to the search results, and you can pull up those results and you can further play with them and filter them as you like to see how this tool works. And so the sorts of this is just one example of the sorts of query that one can do on geographical data and linked data of this kind that has been created this way. If you have, and as we'll see in the next couple of weeks, with look at some more mapping and geographical resources, the sorts involve a particular set of data, such as a document, include looking at connections between places, density of place references, and I won't go through all of these, but they're worth looking at. These are all projects that have come out of or fed into Pelagios in various ways, including multiple documents being visualized in the same interface, connections and itineraries and so forth, and looking at the ways in which different kinds of place references are displayed differently. So this visualization, for example, shows place references that are people references rather than names of settlements. And you can see that people references are not in the center of the world, which would be around the Mediterranean, but they're in the periphery of the known world, which suggests that you refer to peoples when you don't really know what is there. You just know what the peoples are that are there. But in any case, that's, I won't go into those into any further detail, but I will pass back instead to Valeria to talk about that some more. Stop screen sharing and pass back to Valeria. Valeria, you're still muted.
Yeah, can you
You're
hear
back.
me now? Okay, yeah, thank you. I see that Tom is online, so if you have any question about Pleiades, you better address them to him. They will definitely give you better answers. But what I'll do now is present the project we are working, Gabby and I are working on at the moment, that is called CALCS. Let me go into screen share and okay. I've spoken a lot about Pleiades.
You're not currently screen sharing. We can still see you instead.
I'm not screen sharing. Let me check that. Sorry, I thought I was. Oh. Can you see the screen now? Is it okay now? I assume it is. Okay.
Yes, it's good.
Yeah. Sorry, I was in full screen and I didn't see your replies. Okay. So we presented Pleiades Gazetteer, and of course it's a rich, collaborative, digital, open-ended, created atlas of the ancient world. And as you have seen, I'm quite into it, but that doesn't mean that it cannot be improved, it cannot be enriched in various ways, and cannot be, criticized a little bit. So, for example, one of the issues that we saw in Pleiades, sort of, if you want to call it an original sin of Pleiades, is that it is based on an Anglophone publication, that is, the Barrington Atlas, as we have seen. And even though it moved on from the Barrington Atlas, and it has been, it became, a community-built gazetteer. Still, the vast majority of the contributors to Pleiades are European or American scholars, and this does affect the final result. This does shape Pleiades in a way. I think it's, in a way, the same effect that we see in Wikipedia. I mean, Wikipedia, it's a community-built, crowdsourced encyclopedia of basically everything, and it gives the illusion of being universal, of being very comprehensive. But actually, Wikipedia, if you look a little bit closer to it, definitely mirrors what are the interests and the competences of its main contributors, and its main contributors are usually male, white, American or European, affluent users. So, for example, you will find everything you ever wanted to know about baseball players, but good luck finding, something about female scientists or known Western celebrities. So, in a way, this is obviously at a different scale. It's something that we see in Pleiades as well. There are places like Rome and Britain that are definitely very, very, very richly represented and annotated, and other places that really are not. So what are some of the consequences of this situation? Well, there are definitely a few, but we want to point out these ones because these were those that were relevant to us and to our projects. So, for example, Pleiades doesn't show the fact that what used to be part of the classical world was then conquered by Arab or Turks. The fact that we don't have Arabic or Turkish names in Pleiades, but we have mainly, the ancient names and the Anglophone names, in a way, let's say, doesn't make this explicit. And we said that Pleiades tries to include modern names of places to facilitate research for people that are not specialists. But again, the modern languages that are featured in Pleiades are very often European or Western languages, actually almost exclusively English or Italian, sometimes modern Greek, I think. While the modern name is not featured in Arabic or Turkish, not even for the places that are at the moment in countries that are Arabic or Turkish speaking. And also, when we look at the list of names of a place and we don't see any Arabic name, we might forget that even before the Arabic conquest, there were places, especially on the Mediterranean, that is our main area of interest, where different cultures and different languages already interacted, and there were exchanges. And this, let's say, very, very complex, sometimes messy cultural situation, it is told by the history of the names of places. And we want this kind of indirect history of Mediterranean places to be displayed in Pleiades. Also, from let's say accessibility point of view, we believe that the fact that we don't have almost any Arabic or Turkish in Pleiades, it's kind of discouraging for all our colleagues that study the ancient world in Arabic-speaking universities. So all the, let's say, computational analysis that we can do if we do machine extraction on the names, the place names in Pleiades, is somehow prevented, not available for Arabic-speaking colleagues. They cannot perform the same sort of digital analysis of the names. So what we decided to do, we started this small project that is called CALCS, which stands for Cross-Cultural Afterlife of Classical Sites, and it was funded by Pelagios. So it's a very small project, so it has very, very limited goals, but maybe can be considered a pilot for some sister projects, or it can be taken further maybe in the future. So what we want is to expand. Maybe expand is a big word, let's say, to stretch a little bit the scope of Pleiades in a linguistic sense, but also a little bit in a chronological and geographical sense. So Pleiades is supposed to deal with the classical world, but yeah, well, maybe we can, as I said, stretch a little bit the idea of what is included into the concept of classical world. Also, as I said, we want to show somehow that the Mediterranean cities had a very, very busy, culturally speaking, life during and after the classical period. And we especially want to enhance the potential collaboration with other colleagues in the Arabic and Turkish-speaking world, and start more collaborations, and in particular enabling them to use the same computational tools that we can use from Pleiades. So what practically we decided to do? Okay, we started in a very, very traditional and non-scary way. We made a spreadsheet. It's quite important to state that we're not creating new entries in Pleiades, but we are only adding Arabic or Turkish names to already existing places in Pleiades. I very, very warmly invite people that want to actually create new places for new entries for places in the Arabic or Turkish-speaking world to do so, but that's not the scope of CALCS at the moment. So we started with this spreadsheet that, by the way, is available on GitHub. If you feel like contributing to it, we are very, very happy to share our work. And we started collecting Arabic names for classical places, both modern and historical. But we followed 3 approaches to do that. And the first one was machine extraction. So we actually, Gabi, wrote a script that would search all Pleiades pages and would look into those that have a Wikipedia page as a see further citation. You've seen that every entry in Pleiades has must have references, and one of the possible references are Wikipedia pages. So the script searches for the Pleiades entries with Wikipedia pages as references and looks for those that have an Arabic or Turkish name, and harvests it and outputs it in our spreadsheet, that a very similar one to that you have seen. And of course, after that, we need to hand check and do the transliteration and everything, but that was already a nice bulk of information. Also, we looked at modern atlases and textbooks in Arabic to find the modern Arabic and Turkish names for the places we were interested in. And yeah, well, what is the most difficult, but probably the most fun bit of this research, and I will involve all of you later in this, which is looking at these amazing medieval maps and other historical sources, text sources as well, and do, you know, the old-fashioned by hand name entity recognition and transcribing the name. Actually, I should have added a fourth point that is networking, because we really wanted to involve as many collaborators as possible in this project, because we really want this to be an engaging project. One of our goals is to really interest as many people as possible in expanding the scope of Pleiades. And this is why we have uploaded in Recogito a number of medieval maps. Most of them are in Arabic, and I will start with the Arabic ones just to show you a little bit of the kind of materials we're working on, and at the same time to show you how Recogito works. But we will also work on some maps that have Roman Latin alphabet, so they will be more familiar to non-Arabic speaking colleagues. So let me leave this. Usama was supposed to join us, but sadly he had some problems with the with the connection, and he had already actually annotated quite a few places. So I'm very sorry he cannot join us, but we'll start without him. I'll try to do my best, and if I do some mistakes with the Arabic, I hope that Usama will correct me via chat or email. Okay, so you should go into the Recogito homepage. I hope you all already have an account, and if you have given us your account, we have shared our maps with you. If not, feel free to just upload a map of your choice and do the annotation that you like at your own pace. I will just show quickly how to use Recogito. So this is the homepage. You log in, and this is the page of my account where I'm not logged in. Voila. Okay, so here I can access either my documents that I have uploaded myself on this on my account, or I can access the documents that some other user has shared with me. And if I have been given the right privileges, I can annotate them and I can, reshare them with other user. I will start with a map of Sicily. I'll try to start with a map of Sicily. Okay, so this is the interface of Recogito. This is the image that you have selected from your list. You see you have a nice zoom in and zoom out feature. This is the toolbar. At the moment, I think that these are the only two tools that are available, but they are also the two tools that we need, so no problems about that. So if we are in the move tool, we can just use our pointer to pan, and we can zoom in and out as we like. It's not extremely helpful for this specific map, but we will definitely use that later. Recogito allows us to rotate the image, and to rotate the image you should hold Alt and Shift together and then use the cursor and the image will rotate. But in this case we don't need that because we are in the right orientation. And this is one of the maps in this seminal work that the Andalusian geographer Al-Idrisi compiled in the 12th century, which was a map of the world. And this is in particular Sicily. And Usama had made some annotation for Upper Egypt and the Nile Delta, but I feel more comfortable with Sicilian places, so I hope Usama will forgive me. So what you do is basically you look at the map and you try to decipher what is written in it. When you think you are sure you can read something, for example, I believe that this is Syracuse. What you do is draw a rectangle around it, and then you annotate your rectangle. So you have two options, that is the straight rectangle or the slightly tilted one, but in this case I would go with the regular one. And you just, okay, no, let's try the tilted, maybe it works better. Okay, you draw a line and then you just, okay, I should stop saying just. Okay, let's try again. Line, okay, no. As where this worked fine before. Okay, and then you
drag
just,
without. That's, there you go.
Okay, yep. So I have selected the part of text that I want to transcribe, and I believe that this says Siracusa, and I also want to georesolve that. What does that mean? That I want to tell Recogito that this place on this map, I believe I have identified it. So I've not just read the name and transcribed the name, but I am fairly sure that I can say where that place is. So I try to georesolve it. In some cases, the Recogito finds automatically a match for my place. But in this case, because I'm using a language that Pleiades is not, Pleiades and the other gazetteers are not very, very familiar with, is not recognizing the place. So let me save this and try to okay. All right. Let me try with Lentini. Okay. So this, I believe, is Lentini, which is found as an automatic match, but I wanted to show the non-automatic match. Anyway, we confirm that this is Lentini, and we say, okay, we didn't find it in Pleiades, we found it in GeoNames, but we can see in the map that, you know, this is the place we are interested in. It may seem that it's not, because this map is oriented in, you know, in the opposite that we are used to. So we have south and north that are inverted, but yes, that is definitely Lentini. Let's see if we can find another place that I recognize. Yes, okay. This one is Ragusa, I would say, but in the Arabic script, so it's Ragus, like that. Let's try finding, so it's not found. Search, and if I search with Ragusa, which is the actual Italian name, yeah, I was fairly sure that we would find it. So Ragusa, Italy, yes, that's it. So, okay. Okay, I've given you some Arabic Sicily, and I've shown you a little bit of our beautiful medieval maps, but I also want to do something not in the Arabic script. So let's go back to our shared folder, and I will actually show you something that has been done with all the maps that Al-Idrisi drew in his book. They have been all collated together and transcribed in a way that is maybe more familiar to us. Okay, this is a wonderful case when the rotation actually helps. So all shift and okay, this is much better now. And again, I will go for something that I know. So let's go with the south of Italy. And again, the tilted box. Okay, this is a good one. This is Adrant. Let's see if Recognize it? No, it doesn't. Adrant is actually Otranto in Italian, another name. So yes, here it is. The geonames, that's the place we were looking for. Okay. Okay, let's find another that is well known. Okay, yeah. This is Nepal or Naples. We transcribe it as Nepal. And please remember that if there is, for example, an error on the map, if you, I mean, you are supposed to transcribe the name as you see it, even if you think that it's wrong, even if it's not the usual attestation that that you find, you are supposed to transcribe it exactly as you see it. And if you have something to add, you can use the comment space, and maybe someone else will resolve that. And we want to tell, it doesn't find Nepal, we want to tell Recogito that our Nepal is actually Naples. Not the one in the United States. Okay, let's try with the Italian name. Oh, I can't believe there is in Napoli, come on. Ancient road, no. No. Bahia, no. Okay, this is bizarre. I'm pretty sure the Naples is in Pleiades, but I think the Recogito is not finding it at the moment. Anyway, let's
Try
say
looking for it under Neapolis.
right. Ah, found it. Nope. This one? Nope. Tunisia. No. Okay. Okay, we can leave this map. We have done our transcription. We can show maybe the last map with the Latin script. So let's go back to my folder. Share with me. Let's go to our Portuguese map and see if I can recognize any name in Portuguese. Again, I think it's better to rotate it a little bit. Oh yes, okay. I am confident that this is Fano. Okay, it's called Fan on this map. And it's not the one in China. So we need to change it. And let's try this. No, just Fano. Let's see if it's this one. Yes, this is this is the one we're looking for. So let's say oh, we lost it. Yeah. Okay, I'll say Fano. In the meantime, if you have questions, perplexities, feel free to interrupt me. Oops.
Yes, thanks a lot, Valeria. We've got about 5 minutes left for discussion as we overran a little bit. That was almost certainly my fault in the middle there. But yes, if there's any final questions or comments, or anyone wants to add anything, now's the time. Also, feel free to leave comments in the chat window. Yes, Anise says she doesn't have questions, but she's going to practice.
Okay, I see, Anise. The Rio that you saw is actually Reggio Calabria. So it was called Rio in Arabic. That's true.
Tom says he thought Valeria did a great job describing Pleiades.
Oh, thank you.
That's true. I think everybody can see these comments as you're still screen sharing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, true. Okay. If someone is following this on the YouTube channel and they want to have access to the maps with the Arabic names, they should send us an email, and we will give them access to annotate these maps. And we are especially welcome all native Arabic speakers, because yeah, we really want more of you to be in this project. So please help us. We have work for everyone.
Absolutely. Okay, if there's no other comments, then thank you very much again, and we'll see you all next week.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers. Bye.